Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you one thing. Have you ever been so kind to someone only to realize they never valued it? Have you given your time, your energy, your love only to be left drained, hurt, and questioning yourself? We have been taught since childhood that kindness is a virtue, that being good to everyone is a sign of strength. But what if I told you that kindness, when given to the wrong people, can be your biggest weakness? What if I told you that the world does not always reward kindness, but instead sometimes punishes it? Today I am here to tell you one truth that might shake you, but will also set you free. Stop being kind to everyone. Because not everyone deserves your kindness. Some people will take it for granted. Some will exploit it. And some will only remember you when they need something. But when you need them, silence, absence, betrayal. You see, kindness is a beautiful thing. But when it comes without boundaries, it is dangerous. It makes you a magnet for those who see your goodness as a free resource. But you are not an endless supply. You are not a doormat. You are not here to please everyone while forgetting yourself. So today I challenge you, stop being kind to everyone. Start being kind to yourself first. Because when you respect yourself, the world will learn to respect you too. Are you ready to take back your power? Then stay with me till the end, because what I am about to share will change the way you live your life forever. Kindness is one of the most beautiful qualities a person can have. It has the power to heal, to connect, and to transform lives. We are often taught that kindness is an unlimited resource, that we should give it freely to everyone without expecting anything in return. While this idea may sound noble, it is also the very thing that makes many people suffer in silence. The truth is, kindness should have boundaries, because when you extend it to everyone without discernment, you open yourself up to being used, manipulated, and taken for granted. There is a difference between being kind and being naive. Many people mistake kindness for weakness, and the more you give without limits, the more they will take. There are people in this world who see kindness not as a virtue, but as an opportunity to exploit. They recognize the ones who always say yes, the ones who always offer a helping hand, the ones who put others before themselves, and they use them for their own benefit. If you are someone who constantly gives and gives, without expecting anything in return, you might have noticed how some people only appear in your life when they need something from you. They come to you for support, for comfort, for favors, but when you are the one in need, they are nowhere to be found. This is why kindness must have limits. It is not your responsibility to carry the weight of everyone's problems. It is not your duty to always be available, to always say yes, to always put yourself last just to make others happy. True kindness does not mean exhausting yourself for people who do not appreciate you. It does not mean allowing yourself to be disrespected in the name of being nice. It does not mean sacrificing your own well-being for the sake of maintaining peace with those who only take from you. When you are too kind to everyone, you send a message that your time, energy, and emotions are limitless, that you will always be there no matter how you are treated. And once people realize this, they will begin to expect your kindness as something they are entitled rather than something they should appreciate. They will keep taking because they know you will keep giving. And before you know it, you will be left exhausted, drained, and questioning why your kindness is never returned. This is where you need to draw the line. You need to understand that kindness is precious, and it should not be wasted on those who do not value it. It is okay to be selective with your kindness. It is okay to say no. It is okay to walk away from people who take advantage of your good heart. Being kind does not mean you have to be a people pleaser. It does not mean you have to tolerate mistreatment. It does not mean you have to sacrifice your own needs just to accommodate others. Some people will call you selfish when you start setting boundaries. They will make you feel guilty for not being as available as you once were. They will try to manipulate you into thinking that you have changed, that you are not as kind as you used to be. But what they really mean is that they can no longer use you like they did before. They are not upset because you have stopped being kind. They are upset because your kindness no longer serves their selfish needs. And that is something you must accept. The moment you begin to prioritize yourself, some people will walk away. Let them. The people who truly appreciate you will understand that kindness should go both ways, that relationships, whether friendships, family, or work connections, should be built on mutual respect and appreciation, not just on one person constantly giving while the other keeps taking. So, if you have ever felt like your kindness is being taken for granted, If you have ever felt like people only come to you when they need something, if you have ever felt exhausted from constantly being there for others while receiving little in return, then this is your wake-up call. You are not obligated to be kind to everyone. Your kindness should be reserved for those who genuinely value and respect it. From a young age, we are conditioned to believe that being kind is the right thing to do. We are taught to always put others first, to be accommodating, to never say no, and to make sure we don't upset or disappoint anyone. While this sounds like a wonderful way to live, it is also the reason so many people feel drained, unappreciated, and taken for granted. There is a fine line between being kind and being a people pleaser, and when you cross that line, you begin to lose yourself. You begin to feel like your needs, your opinions, and your happiness don't matter as much as keeping others happy. The problem with constantly prioritizing others over yourself is that it leads to an unhealthy cycle. You give and give, thinking that people will appreciate it, thinking that they will do the same for you in return. But instead, you find yourself in situations where people expect your kindness rather than appreciate it. They start assuming that you will always say yes, that you will always be available, that you will always put their needs above your own. And the moment you try to change that, the moment you say no or set boundaries, they make you feel guilty for it. Self-respect means understanding that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. It means recognizing that you are not responsible for making everyone around you happy at the cost of your own well-being. When you are too kind to people who only take advantage of you, you are not being strong or noble, you are allowing yourself to be used. You must realize that it is not your job to be liked by everyone. And it is certainly not your job to sacrifice yourself just to keep people in your life. People-pleasing is exhausting. It forces you to suppress your true feelings, to ignore your own needs, and to constantly adjust yourself to fit into what others want from you. It makes you feel as if your worth is determined by how much you can give to others, rather than by who you truly are. And the worst part is that the more you please people, the more they expect from you. It becomes a never-ending cycle where you are always giving, always compromising, always making sure everyone else is comfortable, while you are left feeling empty inside. True kindness does not mean bending over backward for people who do not respect you. It does not mean tolerating disrespect just because you want to avoid conflict. It does not mean saying yes to things that make you uncomfortable just because you don't want to disappoint others. When you respect yourself, you understand that kindness should never come at the cost of your own peace. You understand that setting boundaries does not make you a bad person, it makes you someone who values themselves. It is okay to say no. It is okay to walk away from relationships that drain you. It is okay to put yourself first, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Because the people who truly care about you, the people who genuinely respect you, will never demand that you sacrifice your happiness for their convenience. They will never take your kindness for granted. They will never expect you to diminish yourself just to make them feel better. The moment you stop trying to please everyone, you will feel a sense of freedom. You will no longer feel burdened by the expectations of those who only take from you. You will no longer feel the need to prove your worth through constant self-sacrifice. You will start making decisions that are best for you, rather than ones that simply make others happy. And the people who only valued you for what you could do for them, they will slowly fade away. And that is something you must be okay with. There is a dangerous misconception that being kind means always saying yes, always being available, and always putting others before yourself. But when you live like this, when you constantly give without limits, you begin to notice something unsettling. People start expecting your kindness rather than appreciating it. They stop seeing it as something special and instead treat it as something they are entitled to. And before you realize it, you become the person that everyone relies on, but no one thinks about when you are the one in need. There is nothing wrong with kindness. It is one of the most powerful qualities a person can have. But when kindness is given without boundaries, it stops being a gift and becomes a burden. You start feeling exhausted, drained, and unappreciated. You find yourself in relationships where you are the one making all the effort, friendships where you are the one doing all the giving, and situations where people only come to you when they need something. And when you stop giving, when you start saying no, when you begin to put yourself first, you suddenly realize how many of these people disappear. Not everyone deserves your kindness. There are people in this world who will take advantage of your good heart, who will manipulate your generosity, and who will make you believe that you owe them something just because you have always been there for them. They will make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. They will tell you that you have changed, that you are no longer the same kind and giving person you used to be. But what they really mean is that they can no longer use you the way they once did. Being kind does not mean allowing yourself to be disrespected. It does not mean sacrificing your own needs just to accommodate others. It does not mean staying silent when people cross your boundaries just because you don't want to upset them. True kindness comes from a place of strength, not weakness. It means knowing when to say no. It means recognizing when a relationship is one-sided and having the courage to walk away. It means understanding that you do not have to be everything for everyone while leaving nothing for yourself. If you have ever found yourself wondering why you always feel tired, why you feel unappreciated despite all that you do for others, why you feel like you're constantly being used, then this is your wake-up call. You are not put on this earth to be a convenience for others. Your kindness is a gift, not an obligation. You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You do not have to prove your worth by always being available, by always saying yes, by always putting others first. Some people will never appreciate your kindness, no matter how much you give. They will take and take until you have nothing left. And then they will move on to someone else who will do the same. That is why it is so important to protect your energy, to be mindful of who you allow into your life, and to understand that kindness without boundaries is a path to exhaustion. It is okay to prioritize yourself. It is okay to choose peace over pleasing others. It is okay to say no without explaining yourself. Because the people who truly care about you will never demand that you sacrifice your happiness for their convenience. They will respect your boundaries. They will appreciate your kindness rather than expect it. And they will never make you feel guilty for putting yourself first. There is a difference between being kind and being taken for granted. Too often, we confuse kindness with self-sacrifice, believing that to be a good person, we must always say yes, always be available, and always put others first. We think that if we give more, if we love harder, if we continue to be there no matter what, people will value us. But that is not how the world works. The more you give without boundaries, the more people expect from you. What was once seen as a kindness becomes an expectation. And when you finally decide to put yourself first, those same people who benefited from your kindness will make you feel guilty for it. This is why you must stop being kind to everyone. Not everyone deserves your time, your energy, or your generosity. There are people in this world who see kindness as weakness, who take without giving, who manipulate and exploit those with good hearts. If you continue to be kind to people who take advantage of you, you are not being noble, you are allowing yourself to be used. And the harsh truth is, the more you allow it, the worse it will get. People will continue to push your limits because they know you will never push back. You must understand that setting boundaries does not make you selfish. It does not make you a bad person. It does not mean you are cruel or unkind. It means you value yourself enough to know that you deserve to be treated with respect. It means you understand that your worth is not determined by how much you can do for others. It means that you refuse to be drained, manipulated, or guilt-tripped into giving more than you have. There is nothing wrong with kindness, but kindness without limits leads to exhaustion. It leads to disappointment. It leads to resentment. It makes you feel like you are constantly giving, yet never receiving. It makes you question why people only come to you when they need something. It makes you feel unappreciated because deep down, you know that many of the people around you only stay because of what you provide for them. And the saddest part, the moment you stop giving, you start seeing people's true colors. You start realizing who was there for you and who was only there for what you could do for them. It is not your responsibility to make everyone happy. It is not your job to always be the bigger person, to always say yes, to always be available. You do not have to prove your worth by constantly putting others before yourself. You do not have to carry the weight of everyone else's problems while neglecting your own. Because at the end of the day, the people who truly care about you will never demand that you sacrifice yourself for them. They will never make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. They will never take your kindness for granted. There comes a point where you must choose yourself. You must recognize that your kindness is a gift, not something that people are entitled to. You must stop giving to those who only take. You must walk away from relationships that drain you. You must protect your peace, even if it means disappointing people who never truly valued you in the first place. Because the people who genuinely respect you, who genuinely care about you, will never expect you to destroy yourself just to keep them happy. People will tell you that kindness is a virtue, that it makes the world a better place, that it is the key to happiness. But what they don't tell you is that kindness without boundaries is a trap. It is the reason you feel exhausted, the reason you feel unappreciated, the reason you feel like you are constantly giving but never receiving. The harsh reality is that not everyone deserves your kindness, and the more you give without limits, the more you will be taken for granted. You have been taught that being a good person means always putting others before yourself, always saying yes, always making sacrifices. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself who is making sacrifices for you? Who is checking on you when you are the one in need? Who is going out of their way to make sure you are okay? If the answer is no one, then it's time to wake up. It's time to stop being kind to people who only remember you when they need something. It's time to stop pouring into people who wouldn't even offer you a drop in return. There is a dangerous misconception that kindness means being available to everyone at all times, that it means always being the one to listen, to support, to uplift. But what happens when you are the one who needs support? What happens when you are the one who needs someone to listen? Too often, people who are always there for everyone else end up feeling the most alone. Because the truth is, when you make yourself too accessible, people start to see you as a convenience rather than a person. They stop valuing your presence. They stop appreciating your efforts. They start assuming that no matter what, you will always be there, so they never feel the need to show up for you in return. This is why you must protect your energy. This is why you must stop allowing people to take advantage of your kindness. Because when you keep giving to people who never give back, you are not being kind, you are being unfair to yourself. You are allowing others to drain you. You are allowing yourself to be used. And the longer you let it continue, the harder it becomes to break free. Some people will only love you for what you can do for them. Some people will only keep you around because they know you will always say yes. And the moment you say no, the moment you start prioritizing yourself, the moment you stop being the person who is always available, you will see how quickly they change. They will call you selfish. They will say you have changed. They will make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. But what they really mean is that they can no longer use you the way they once did. You have to learn to say no without explaining yourself. You have to learn that it is okay to walk away from relationships that leave you feeling empty. You have to understand that being kind does not mean allowing yourself to be disrespected. It does not mean tolerating people who drain you. It does not mean sacrificing your own needs just to keep others happy. True kindness comes from strength, not weakness. It means knowing your worth. It means surrounding yourself with people who respect and appreciate you. It means understanding that you do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You deserve to be treated with the same love and care that you give to others. You deserve relationships that are built on mutual respect and appreciation, not one-sided effort. And the moment you realize this, the moment you stop giving your kindness away so freely to those who do not deserve it, you will start to see a change. You will start to feel lighter. You will start to feel happier. You will start to attract the right people who appreciate you for who you are, not just for what you can do for them. There is a fine line between being kind and being taken advantage of. You may think that your kindness is making the world a better place, that it is bringing people closer to you, that it is the reason you are loved and appreciated. But look around who truly values you. Who is standing beside you because they cherish your presence, and who is there only because they benefit from your generosity? When you give without limits, when you offer your time, energy, and love to everyone without question, you are not just being kind, you are making yourself an easy target for those who take without giving back. You must understand that not everyone deserves your kindness. Not everyone appreciates the effort you put in, the sacrifices you make, the love you pour into them. Some people will only see you as a resource, as someone they can turn to when they need something, as someone who will always be there no matter how they treat you. And the moment you stop giving, The moment you decide to put yourself first, you will see how quickly they walk away. They never valued you, they only valued what they could get from you. There is a harsh truth that many people refuse to accept. If you keep making yourself available to the wrong people, you will never have the energy for the right ones. You will drain yourself trying to please people who will never truly appreciate you. You will exhaust yourself trying to meet expectations that were never meant to be fair. You will lose yourself in the endless cycle of giving, hoping that one day someone will give back to you in the same way. But that day never comes, not unless you choose to break the cycle. You must stop thinking that being kind means always saying yes, always fixing problems that are not yours to fix, always putting others' needs above your own. That is not kindness, that is self-neglect. You were not put on this earth to carry the weight of everyone else's burdens while ignoring your own. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your energy, your emotions. You do not have to be the person who always understands, who always forgives, who always puts up with things that hurt you just because you are afraid of being seen as unkind. People will call you selfish the moment you start setting boundaries. They will say you have changed, that you're no longer the person they once knew. But what they really mean is that they can no longer take advantage of you the way they once did. They were comfortable with the version of you that had no limits, that never asked for anything in return, that kept giving even when you had nothing left to give. And now that you are standing up for yourself, now that you are choosing your own peace over their convenience, they no longer know how to handle it. You have to realize that your kindness is a privilege, not something that everyone is entitled to. You get to choose who deserves it. You get to decide where to invest your energy, who to give your time to, and who is worthy of your presence. Because the truth is, the right people will never make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. The right people will never expect you to sacrifice your happiness for theirs. The right people will value you for who you are, not just for what you can do for them. Kindness is beautiful, but it should never come at the cost of your own well-being. If you're constantly giving and never receiving, if you are always the one people rely on but have no one to rely on yourself, then it is time to reevaluate. It is time to take a step back and ask yourself if your kindness is being appreciated or if it is simply being used. Because the moment you stop allowing yourself to be used, the moment you start valuing yourself enough to say no, the moment you realize that your worth is not determined by how much you can do for others, everything will change.